Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. When it comes to healthy animals, there's no doubt that there's a link to healthy humans and a healthy planet. In fact, you may recall that animal health emerged as a clear climate solution back in November during the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP28. Joining us today to talk about sustainability in the livestock sector is Shari Westerfeld, Vice President of U.S. Sustainability and Customer Engagement. Welcome, Shari. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
For those of you that are tuning in, we thank you for your time as well. If you have any questions, feel free to post those in the chat area to the right of your screen. If you're joining us from social media, simply post your questions directly in those channels. So, Shari, talk to us about how enhancing the health of livestock contributes to environmental and economic well-being of communities and farmers.
Awesome, Sarah. This is amazing, and I really appreciate getting the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about how Zoetis thinks about this space. And honestly, at Zoetis, we are committed to a better future for communities, animals, and planet. And as you already mentioned, animal health is a large and important part of the sustainability ecosystem. And to truly accelerate this, driving this lasting change, we have to be able to collaborate. And as you mentioned, some of the stats from COP, the FAO currently mentioned livestock supports 1.3 billion people globally. And when we think about disease, approximately 20% of animal production is lost linked to disease. And at Zoetis, we're committed to helping our livestock farmers and ranchers and producers raise healthier animals. And we understand economic and environmental viability is critically important to our customers. And so we want to make sure that we're focused on the right areas so that they can have those sustainable operations for years to come. I just want to mention a few of the collaborations that we have worked on in this space. We've worked with DMI and Rufus on their open source model to really understand the drivers in dairy emissions. We've worked with FAR and ICASA to study the disease drivers of BRD with Kansas State through a consortium with ICASA. And then finally, we have a voice in different groups like the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef, where I sit on their executive committee to support the sustainability of that beef value chain.
So now the world's population is expected to continue to rise. I think they're talking about nearly 10 billion people by 2050. What would you say then is the significance of animal welfare as it relates to global food security? Can we do both, produce more, and also meet the needs from an animal welfare standpoint?
Yeah, Sarah, I do think we can. It's going to take all of us. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to have to come together, and we understand the population, the rapid environment change. Our farmers need innovative solutions to be able to produce more food with fewer resources. And at Zoetis, we're laser focused on helping our customers produce healthy animals in sustainable ways that will allow our consumers to have those nutritious choices. It's important that we have access to that next generation of agricultural leaders and veterinarians who are committed to helping us achieve those goals. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we do at Zoetis to advance the opportunities with veterinarians, livestock farmers, and again, the next generation. We have a Zoetis Foundation, and I want to mention a few key areas where our Zoetis Foundation has grants that support this work. So we support a grant through the Farm Journal Foundation, where they are focused on access to veterinarians in rural communities. If we don't have those veterinarians in those rural communities where they can be the first line to diagnose and treat those emerging infectious diseases or diseases that come into those populations, we need their support. From 2021 to 2023, our Zoetis Foundation dispersed $4.4 million to fund support for veterinary scholarships and programs impacting greater than 800 students. And finally, we want new excited youth to come into the agricultural fields. And so the Zoetis Foundation supports a grant with a organization we all know and love in the agricultural space, the National FFA organization, where we can bring those access to students with different backgrounds and get them excited about careers in agriculture. I also want to mention a couple things just briefly on what our business, livestock business, also does to support FFA. They have an industry support program where they contribute directly to chapters, again, to support those students. And then with Memorial Day being this last week, we also work with Folds of Honor and support scholarships for our American heroes and families there as well.
All about supporting the community and growing that next generation is what I'm hearing.
Yes, very much.
So what proactive role can we take to combat diseases that pose, say, the greatest risk to animals and humans? And how can technology and innovation be put to work to help us achieve those goals, and as well as our sustainability goals?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as I mentioned earlier, new innovation and technology is going to be critical in this space. And our focus from an innovation perspective is really on the overall health of livestock, to equip our customers with those innovative products that they can support their health goals. In 2022 and 2023, you may already be familiar with products we launched around Protivity, a new vaccine for M. bovis, and Valcor, a broad spectrum treatment and control for parasites. What your viewers may not be as familiar with is our work in leveraging our Center for Transboundary and Emerging Diseases. And I mentioned that earlier, where we monitor and develop vaccines for high impact emerging diseases globally. And another area that I think some people probably are familiar with is utilizing genetic testing and genomic predictions to improve animal health. And there's been a lot more discussion around how genetics can support a role in those sustainable outcomes by utilizing the tools and information that we have available to us. And I'll mention a collaboration that we recently did with Farmers for Sustainable Food, where we focused on those genetic improvements. And we were able to see a correlation to lifetime profitability, as we talked about earlier, very important to our farmers, reduction in methane intensity and antibiotic usage, and then feed maintenance for the farm. Really impressive results. And we continue to expand our collaborations and investment in that genetic and genomic prediction space.
Yeah, it's kind of neat to see everything that we can do, whether it's from genetics or whether it's from just improving the performance of our livestock to get that better sustainability, because we're more efficient in what we're doing. Talk with us about Zoetis's framework to evaluate sustainable solutions for animal health, for an animal health needs, while continuing to advance in multiple areas of innovation. How's that all work?
Yeah, our innovation team and our research and development team is so impressive here at Zoetis. Our efforts in livestock really continue to focus on advancing animal health, leveraging genetics, bringing vaccines to market where we can talk about preventing disease before it happens. As we talked about earlier, if we can do that, it will have sustainable outcomes. We're also looking at collaborations in the space of mitigating greenhouse gases and alternatives to antibiotics. And I'll talk just specifically about a few of those. So roughly 1/3 of our pipeline is vaccines for livestock. As I mentioned, we're seeking these new classes of antibiotics for veterinary use only. And we're exploring those novel non-antibiotic anti-infective solutions. And you may have recently seen the announcement that was made where we're collaborating with Blacksmith Medicines to look at some of those novel antibiotics to treat life-threatening infections in livestock. And then on the greenhouse gas side, we're collaborating with leading scientists in New Zealand, where they're exploring mechanisms around how do we inhibit methane emissions from grazing ruminants. So a lot of exciting work that we're doing in the R&D space.
And we always talk, when we talk greenhouse gas, we're always talking about ruminants. But from what I'm hearing, Zoetis is pretty much working across the board, across multiple species when we talk about sustainability efforts.
Absolutely. We're working across all of our livestock. While the conversation has focused a lot in cattle, we know that there's important work to do in pork and poultry as well. And even some of our largest pet care customers are talking about how do they reduce their carbon footprint. So it's a really exciting space for us to continue to hold hands with our customers and be on this journey together to really help them accomplish their goals.
So what final thoughts would you like to leave our audience with today? Any key takeaways or anything that comes to mind that you want them to leave this with?
Yeah, I think the main thing, Sarah, is we know healthy animals are productive animals, are sustainable animals. And a lot of what we do and what we've talked about, our producers are already doing. They're taking care of those animals. They're focused on animal health and animal welfare. And by doing some of these small incremental improvements that fit into the normal operating rhythm of their operations, they can have a significant lasting impact on the areas we discussed, especially like genetics. That has a lot of permanence when you think about the sustainability space. The other thing is at Zoetis, I talked about a lot of different examples. I mean, we are focused on a very holistic approach to sustainability to ensure that we're supporting our customers in achieving their sustainability goals across the community, animals, and planet. So there's a lot of discussion around environment, greenhouse gas emissions, and sometimes we can get a little too focused there where we want to make sure we have a very holistic approach. And then finally, a little plug for our sustainability report. So our 2023 sustainability report will be coming out soon. And so we'd love for you, if you have more questions, obviously, on Zoetis, you can reach out to your Zoetis representatives or take a look at our website and see the exciting progress we're making in the space with our customers around sustainability.
Very good. Shari Westerfeld of Zoetis, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today and for sharing your insight on the topic of sustainability in livestock production.
Thank you, Sarah. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, we want to thank all of you for tuning in today. We appreciate your time. A reminder, you can view all of Feedstuffs 365 interviews on feedstuffs.com. Until next time, for Feedstuffs 365, I'm Sarah Muirhead.